Lisa. Today I want to share with you some Happy Mail that I got from the Stamps of Life. This is their card kit club and it comes out on the 15th of every month. So I just want to share the products with you really quick, and I'm just now opening it for the first time. So I'm really excited to see what's in here. They always give you an idea card which shows some sample cards that you can make with the kit clubs, and there's 3 samples on here. So cute. And let's see, it always comes with a die, and this die that it's coming with this month is the word joyful. And here it is right here. That's what it's gonna look like. And it actually comes with a shadow layer and the actual die cut word. It also comes with a stamp set. Every month the kits do come with a stamp set, and this stamp set has some sentiments on it. Oh, by golly, have a holly jolly Christmas. A wish for everything, merry and bright. A little something just for you. You're getting better with age, happy birthday. Hello, miss you, happy holidays, celebrate, shine, thinking of you this season, and some stars. It also comes with these beautiful, these are blue, they're just little embellishments. They come in different sizes. Those are super pretty. And every kit always comes with a 6x6 pattern paper pad, and this pattern paper pad is so cute. It actually matches the stamp set that they have this month. Let's just go through this pattern paper pad really quick. It has the reindeer and or if you just want to be a deer, and that's the stamp set that they had this month, which I'll show you in just a bit. Also has this pretty pink plaid, and I think these little peppermints are absolutely beautiful. I really love those. And then some more plaid, and then here's some reindeers that you can actually cut out. So you can actually use your die cut piece that they came out with this month and die cut those out and use them on a card. It also has these pretty colors, some pretty Christmassy colors. Plaid, some Christmas balls, some more peppermints, plaid. God, those are so pretty. And then some hearts and some blue, more plaid and some small reindeer, more plaid and some small Christmas ornament balls, polka dots, pink, and those colors I love too. And then some small peppermints, more plaid, and then it starts back all over again. And I love their paper pads. They're so thick, these pattern paper pads. It's almost like cardstock. Absolutely love. So there's the pattern paper pad. It also comes with 2 ribbon. I think this is the strawberry, and I don't remember what color this one is. It's probably mint chip. Really pretty. And also has some cute little embellishments here. They are made out of felt flowers with some little gems there on the top. Those are really pretty. And it also includes some chipboard pieces of some Christmas trees, and of course some white twine. And their packs always come with their paper, as well as this really awesome envelope which you can store everything in. Always comes with some envelopes, and let me move this out of the way, some solid color cardstock that you can build your cards. So here's some of the colors. Let's see, this looks like it's probably the cherry. Then they have the blue jay and the mint chip and the midnight, that's a navy blue. And then the strawberry and the cranberry. You can see that these 2 colors are both the reds. The strawberry is always the lighter, and the cranberry is the darker. And then they have the gingerbread, which is like a craft piece of cardstock. Then the chocolate, which is the brown. And then they give you a few, probably 4 pieces here of the white, which is their powdered sugar. So absolutely beautiful card kit. I'm really looking forward to making some cards with this. Now, just real quick about their card kit. Their card kit is It's $39.98, or if you are a member of one of their other clubs, it's $34.88 per month. And the card kits come out on the 15th. They are shipped on the 15th of each month, and each month they have a different card kit. And being one of their card kit club members, you do get a 25% off gift certificate on your anniversary, and you get 15% off on products on their website and in their booth at the any of the conventions that they go to. And then really quick, I do want to share with you their stamp and die sets that they came out with this month. And these are the reindeer to stamp. Just move that out of the way just so we can take a look at this. And our light is shining on that really badly. Okay, so this is so cute. There's the stamp set. It comes with the reindeer. Hello, my dear. Holiday kisses and reindeer wishes. Merry Christmas, you're so dear to me. And then there's some Christmas lights you can put on the antlers. And then some holly and some ornaments. Those are super cute. And then the matching dies that go with the stamp set. So everything coordinates with the Stamps of Life. So their stamps, they always match the card paper that comes out in their card kit. So you can see here that it has the reindeer on there, and then it also has these die cut pieces pieces that you can die cut from the paper pack, and you can use your dies from your from here to cut these out.
Now, if you don't want to be a member of the Card Kit Club, you can always join their Stamp Club and get the stamps every month at a price of $11.95 per month. Or you can join the Die Hard Club and you can receive both the stamps and the dies, and that's $24.90 a month. And I'll put links down below for more information on the Stamps of Life clubs. In the meantime, I'm so excited about making some cards with both of the stamps and dies and all of the items in the card kit. The first 4 cards that I make are going to be simple cards, which will be incorporating the card kit materials as well as some basic supplies like scissors, adhesive, maybe some foam, and your basic dies such as rectangle or square or circle dies. The last few cards that I make I'm going to incorporate some more items from the Stamps of Life. So it may be some other card bases or different things in those items and those cards. So let's go ahead and get started. So for this first card, I'm going to be using the reindeer in the pattern paper pad, and I'm going to be using my shadow die that came with the die set, and I'm just putting it over top of the reindeer on the paper, as well as that little thing that goes around its neck, and just attaching it with washi tape and run it through my die cut machine. Now I am just going to be cutting an A2 size card base, and I'm starting out with a regular sheet of cardstock. It's the powdered sugar cardstock, and I'm putting it in landscape position and just cut it down at 5.5 inches, and this will give me 2 panels, which I can make 2 A2 size cards with. So I'm just using my scoring board here to score it at 4.25, and then just pressing that down to smooth out that score line. And here's my second A2 size card base, again scored at 4.25. So with that one sheet of paper, I actually was able to make 2 card bases of A2 in size. So now I'm just taking my layers, and I am using the midnight paper, and the midnight paper is measured at 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And then the small white paper is cut at 2 3/8. And then I'm going to just trim the bottom off, and the plaid paper is 2 1/4, and I'll trim the bottom off, and then I use the polka dot paper with a circle die to cut that out. I also used a banner piece, which you'll see a little bit later. I am just adhering the cardstock or in the pattern paper with Tombow liquid glue. I find that glue does work much easier to be able to position everything on the on the card. So adding some more glue, positioning that piece onto the midnight paper, and then you'll see here that I'm going to cut off the bottom. I went ahead and applied the double-sided adhesive to that midnight card layer, and I'm going to attach it to the A2 size card base. And then I'm taking my circle that I cut with my circle die and just adding some glue and adhering that to the card. And then I'm going to put my reindeer on that circle, and I am using some foam adhesive so that that reindeer pops up just a little bit and adds some dimension to the card. Now this card actually is a masculine type card, so I wanted just to show that you can use this this kit and the papers in this kit to create a masculine type card. And this is not a holiday card either. It's just a regular masculine card you can use for a birthday and whatnot. So here I used a banner die and I cut out a banner, and I'm stamping the sentiment hello that came with the card kit using the chocolate Stamps of Life color box ink, and I'm applying that with some foam to the top of the card. I am also inking the edges with that same chocolate ink. And now I'm attaching the foam, and it's going to be placed right there on the top right hand corner of the card. And then I decide that I want to use some of the white twine that is in the kit, so I wrap that around several times and I cut that off and tie it in a knot. I didn't want to add a bow because it is a more masculine card, and I think by adding a bow makes it more feminine. So I'm just tying that there in a knot, cutting that off. And then I'm going to add a sentiment on the inside using the same chocolate ink that I used for the sentiment on the front. So here I'm stamping it out, and the sentiment says, "You're getting better with age, happy birthday." And that completes this card. So for my next card, I am using the cherry cardstock, and I cut it down to an A2 size, and I'm using my stitched rectangle dies to cut out 2 layers, and that striped paper is measured at 4 1/8 by 3 1/8. And now I'm just adhering all of these stitched rectangle layers using my Tombow liquid glue to that striped paper. And I'm putting them at a diagonal, and I know they're going off the card, but those will eventually be cut off. And then I'm layering the green plaid paper right on top of the cherry, and I'm turning it over and just cutting the excess paper off. I am going to be making this more of a feminine card, obviously, because of the pinkish colors that are in here. And again, all of the things that I'm using for this card are part of the card kit club, with the exception of some of those dies. I did use a small square die, and I cut out powdered sugar cardstock and stamped the sentiment "Miss You" using the chocolate ink. And now I'm just taking some distress ink. It is in the worn lipstick color, and just inking up some of those edges. And I did cut out, using my shadow die of the reindeer, I cut out the reindeer from the pattern paper pad and putting it on there. The nice thing about these reindeer is that you don't have to color. So if you don't like coloring, you can use the images that are in the pattern paper pad and just cut those out. These flower embellishments come with the card kit, and I'm just adding them with glue onto the top layer of this card. I think those are so pretty. They match that center bead in the middle. It matches that cherry cardstock color perfectly. So adding those two, and I go ahead and flip this layer over, and I'm using some foam adhesive, and I'm adding it to the back of this layer because when I add it to my card base, it's going to add some dimension to the card. So it's going to stand it up just a little bit, which looks so much nicer than just being flat. So here I am peeling back that dimension on that foam, and I'm adhering it directly to the A2 card base. And then I go back and decide I want to go ahead and add another flower embellishment to that front of the card. I was going to add a ribbon, but I wasn't crazy about the ribbon on there. So there you can see the dimension. I do add a sentiment on the inside. And the sentiment is going to be "Thinking of you this holiday season." And I'm using my Misty tool to stamp that out. And that is also in the chocolate ink. So there is my completed card. "Miss you, thinking of you this holiday season." card is going to be a holiday themed card, and that particular die is going to be the string of lights for my reindeer's ears, and I'm going to use the strawberry cardstock to cut that out. Also in the die set that came with the reindeer to stamp are these little Christmas ornament dies, and I just realized that they will actually cut out these Christmas ornaments from the pattern paper pad, which I had no idea until I placed them over there, and they actually fit perfectly. So I'm just applying those 3 ornaments dies and adhering them with washi tape so they don't move, and die cut them out, and that's what they look like. Now I'm taking my papers, and I have the red striped paper, which measures 2 3/8 by 5.5. That plaid paper measures 2 1/4 by 5 3/8, and I'm just using my liquid glue to apply those one on top of the other. And then that large rectangle with the stripes, the green and red and white stripes, that is cut at 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So again, all of these things that I'm using here for this card are from the card kit, and I'm adhering that layer to the strawberry cardstock, which is cut in an A2 size for the A2 card base. And then again, just applying the glue to add these layers, one on top of another. I just love the colors in this kit. They're so pretty. Here I'm using my Misty, and I'm using my strawberry color box ink, and I cut out a piece of powdered sugar cardstock with a square die, and I'm stamping that sentiment, a wish for everything merry and bright. And I also cut out another piece of strawberry cardstock in a little bit larger square die. And if you don't have these dies in these basic shapes, you can just cut your paper down to size. You don't need to have the dies. And I am going to adhere that on the left-hand side of this card, just using some glue. And for this card, I also am using the reindeer from the pattern paper pad, and use my shadow die cut to die cut that out, and gluing that and applying it to the right side of this card. And then I'm going to take the string of lights, and I did put some double-sided adhesive on the back of this cardstock before I ran it through the die cut to make it easier to stick to the card base. And then just putting those Christmas ornaments, adding some glue to the back, and hanging those from the string of lights on the antlers. Now you could have stamped and die cut your own Christmas ornaments, but I figured, hey, they're already colored for me. I might as well go ahead and just die cut them out from that pattern paper. So here I'm applying the last one. And then I am going to take the Christmas tree chipboard and just add one there to the bottom of the card, and using the mint chip ribbon that came with the card kit and tying it around the top of the card into a bow. And I think that this card turned out so beautiful. Again, I love those holiday colors. Just cutting off the ends and a diagonal shape. And there's my card. Next card, I'm going with another holiday theme, and I'm using the powdered sugar cardstock for my A2 size base. The cranberry cardstock is measured at 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Next, I have the green plaid paper measured at 4 by 5 1/4. And then I have 2 strips of paper. The cranberry is 2 1/8 by 5 1/4. And the green and red striped paper is 2 by 5 1/8. I'm also using the powdered sugar to cut out the shadow layer of the joyful die. And I'm using the cranberry to cut out the actual word joyful. And I go ahead and add double-sided adhesive to the back of the cranberry paper for the joyful die. Just makes it easier when running it through the die cut to have the adhesive on the back side already for when I apply it to the card. I'm also using these 3 chipboard pieces that came with the kit, Going ahead and running the shadow layer of the word joyful through my mini die cut machine. This is a diamond press machine and it comes in handy with small die cuts. And then I'm running the joyful word right through that diamond press machine and just poking out those pieces that aren't needed and taking the cardstock out of the joyful die cut. Now here I'm just pulling back the adhesive backing and applying that word to my shadow layer. And here I'm using my Tombow liquid glue to apply the layers together. So just applying it, the glue, and attaching the layers. And then this large layer is going to go on top of the A2 size card base. And using the liquid glue is so much easier than applying tape adhesive, just because you have more wiggle room. So the joyful word is going to go at the bottom of the card, and then that smaller piece is going to go above that. And those 3 Christmas tree chipboard pieces are going to be positioned on that striped layer. And notice that the 2 on the outside are a different color than the one in the middle, just to add a little pattern effect. And then at the inside of this card is going to have a sentiment stamped using the strawberry ink, a wish for everything merry and bright. And there's my completed card. For this next card, I am actually going to be using the Reindeer to Stamp set, and I'm going to color the images rather than die cut them out of the pattern paper pad. So I stamped my image onto the Spectrum Noir Ultra Smooth cardstock, and I'm coloring it in with my Spectrum Noir alcohol markers. I'm going to go ahead and speed up this coloring process. my pieces. I die cut them all out. And I'm also going to be using these tags, which are the Framelit 662732. And I'm going to cut the tag out of one of the pieces of pattern paper. It looks like the craft, but it's from the pattern paper pad. And then I also have these other pieces as well that I cut out. I am using the ginger snap for the A2 size card base and the large cranberry piece of paper that is cut to 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. That peppermint paper is cut to 4 by 5 1/4. And the red plaid paper that's going underneath the tag is cut to 1 1/4 by 4. So here I'm just gluing these layers together. And I am adhering with liquid glue that large layer to my ginger snap A2 size card base. And then I'm going to take one of the red ribbons that come in the card kit, and I am attaching it to the top of the tag that I cut out. And then I'm just going to snip the ends off in a diagonal. And this tag is going to go in a slanted shape on the top of the card. I am taking a piece of red cardstock, putting some double-sided adhesive on the back to cut out the string of lights. I decided not to use the one that I had colored. I thought it would look better with just the solid red cardstock instead of the one that was colored. And that is the strawberry paper that I cut that out with. I am taking my colored reindeer and I'm adding some glue. I'm going to attach him or her to the tag, and I am going to adhere the, I don't know what that's called, the necklace with the little bell to its neck. And here I'm poking out the paper from the lights die cut. And it does have the double-sided adhesive, so it will stick much better when I adhere it rather than having to put glue on the back of that. That would be just such a mess. So I'm going to apply that there. And then I'm going to take some liquid glue and apply that to the back of the tag and adhere the tag to the card. And then I'm going to take the Christmas ornament balls that I cut out, that I colored and cut out with the die cut as well as the holly, and I'm going to apply those to the reindeer with just some liquid glue and add those ornaments to the string of lights that are on the antlers. And I really like how this card turned out. I think it's so festive with all these beautiful green and red colors. And then I'm going to take my Spectrum Noir marker. I don't like how some of the white is showing on the ends of those Christmas balls, so I'm just coloring in some of that white with my Spectrum Noir gray marker. Then I'm taking one of the smallest circle dies, and I'm cutting out the strawberry cardstock, and I'm snipping my Happy Holidays clear stamp because I want it on 2 lines instead of 1 line so that it will fit on that circle cutout. And then I am going to stamp that with some VersaFine black ink. I was going to heat emboss it, but then I decided not to. But I did take some white ink and just inked up the edges just to add a little bit more color to that die cut. And then once I do that, then I adhere it to the top left-hand corner of my card. And then for the inside, I take the sentiment that came with the Reindeer to Stamp set. And again, I'm using the VersaFine black ink and my Misty tool, and I'm inking that up and putting the sentiment on the inside. Sorry for all the glare with the lights. Holiday kisses and reindeer wishes. And there is my completed card. this next card, I want to use the House Fold It, which is 662735, which makes an A2 size Fold It card in the shape of a house. And I'm going to be using the powdered sugar cardstock for the card base and simply fold the 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper in half. And that's going to be the base of the A2 size card, and it will be shaped just like a house. So here I'm using my scoring tool just to smooth that score line out. And then I'm going to take my house die, which is the largest die in the set, and I can either have it open from the side or from the top. And I decide to make the fold on the top, so where it says on the die place fold here, that's where I'm going to place my fold. And then after I ran it through my die cut machine, I take it out and just take the excess paper away, and the card is an A2 size card that folds open from the top. Then I'm going to start cutting out the pieces of my card, and I'm using the Ginger Snap cardstock as well as the peppermint pattern paper. The Ginger Snap cardstock is going to be for the front and back of the house. You're actually going to need to cut 2 out of each of the triangle roof and the square die for the base. One for the front and one for the back. And then this die here is simply going to be used for the window, and I'll have 2 windows, so I'll need to cut 2 of those as well as the borders that go along over top of the window, and I will cut 2 out of that, and that is the strawberry paper. And if you choose to use the double-sided adhesive on the back, you can. That is simply up to you. It might make it easier for the little lines of the window to have the double-sided adhesive. I did not use it. I'm simply just going to glue it together. And then the striped paper is going to be for the door, so I will need 1 door. And then these 2 pieces are for the chimney. And again, it's the Ginger Snap and the strawberry cardstock. And I'm going to use my diamond press, which is my mini die cut machine, to cut these out. Since these die cuts are so small, I can use this handheld die cut machine to do that. So the red part of the chimney, the red strawberry paper, that's going to overlap on top of the Ginger Snap. And I'm actually going to cut each one of those out twice because I'm making the front of the house as well as the back of the house. So everything's going to be ×2 with the exception of the door. I only need the door on the front, so I only need to cut that out 1 time. I went ahead and inked up the edges of the Ginger Snap cardstock with chocolate ink and the peppermint pattern paper with candy ink, which I didn't show in this part. And here I went ahead and applied those pieces to the house, and now I'm applying the chimney, just gluing down that strawberry cardstock to the top layer of the chimney and then putting that in position. What I'm showing here is the actual back side of the house, and what I realize is that there's not a mirror die cut for the chimney, so I have to improvise, and I'm going to end up having to cut this in a diagonal shape, which looks okay. It's not the greatest, but I had to improvise because there's no shape that will fit, because that chimney piece is only made for the front of the card. And here I'm gluing down the door. And then I'm going to use the Christmas tree to stamp a die that came out in one of the monthly kits, and I cut out a shadow layer using the mint chip, and I'm inking up the edges with artichoke ink. I also cut out the layering pieces with some of the pattern paper in the paper pad for this month, which is the Christmas balls. I think go perfect on this Christmas tree. So I'm just adhering these to my shadow layer. And then for the stem of or the base of the tree, I cut a small piece out of the Ginger Snap cardstock, and I go ahead and layer that onto the bottom of the tree. And I think this gingerbread house is turning out so cute. When I saw this pattern paper pad, I just fell in love and thought right away that I had to make a gingerbread house. Here I'm taking some of the paper and I'm cutting out, just by fussy cutting, some of these peppermints, which I actually end up having to cut a lot of them because I decide I'm going to line them up all along the left and right edges of the house. So I do them in just a specific order, pink, green, red, and then just rotate the order just so it is consistent. And then I just glue them on to the side of the house, which I think is turning out so cute. And there's nothing like having a gingerbread house for the holidays. This paper I love. I'm going to have to purchase another pattern paper pad because I can't get over how cute this paper is. And then I just hold those down with an acrylic block, and then I go do the other side. And then I take the larger peppermints and I decide I'm going to cut a few of these out, which I thought I was going to put them maybe along the top or the roof and the top of right there where that meets. But then I thought, no, it doesn't look good, so I just kind of put them aside and I'll figure something out later to do with them. Now I'm just taking this pattern paper and I'm cutting out these red circles. They look like candy pieces, so I'm going to go ahead and apply those and fill in where the white borders of the house are shown. So I'm just going to fill in all that white spot with these red circle pieces of pattern paper. And it's turning out to be really cute. I'm really falling in love with this card. And then I just use my acrylic block to just hold that down. The nice thing about the glue is that, it's not permanent right away. So if you mess up and you need to reposition it, you can do so. So here I'm applying it to the roof, cutting in a diagonal, and I'll do the same to the other side. And then I just flip it over to the back and I fill in those white spaces on the back just for consistency. I think decorating the back of the card just adds a little bit more special touch than just having the front when you're working with a fold-it card. And I think by adding these little edges, especially to the back, it kind of helps that chimney fall into place on the back. I add a peppermint to the doorknob on the front. Now I cut out one of these little curvy green pieces and I'm putting it along the side where the white meets. It is hanging over the edge just a little bit. I am going to snip off the ends. Notice I'm putting glue on the white itself because some of that piece of pattern paper is extending beyond the edge of the card. And then when I flip it over, I just apply the glue to the white, put that piece of pattern paper right over top, and it covers the extra pattern paper that extended beyond the edge. And then just snip it off. And that completes the fold-it card. However, I then decide, well, I think this would look really good on a step-up card. So I go ahead and take out my center step card die. I actually have the old version, and Stamps of Life did come out with a newer version. It's called the center step card die, and it is on their website, and I'll link it below. But I go ahead and die cut the largest piece in that die set out of the mint chip paper that came with the kit. And this is going to be the base of my card. And what you'll see here is I actually snip the two pieces, the front and the back side, and that will give me 2 layers. And I'm going to use the front layer for the step-up card. So here I'm just kind of positioning them on the card base, and the piece at the bottom is one of the strips that I used when I was cutting apart the candies and the different stripes on the paper to make the gingerbread house itself. So I'm just positioning them, and I'm going to use my pencil to just draw a line where I want to place that gingerbread house. I don't want it to go below that line. So now I'm adding tape to the actual card layer because the gingerbread house exceeds the width of this portion of the card. So I want to make sure that I don't put tape on the back of the gingerbread house and mistakenly, putting it too far out. So adding it to the card base itself will help with that issue. So here I apply the gingerbread house, and I'm making sure to cover the very bottom portion. You see the white line at the bottom of the gingerbread house, so I'm going to cover that up with this pattern paper. There's actually a die in the set that you can cut out a piece of pattern paper to be the width of this bottom panel, but I already had a piece that was cut and it just seemed to be perfect in size, so I went with it. And the peppermint obviously goes with the theme of the house. So, and then there is a die for the panels on the side, so I do cut those out of the pink plaid pattern paper that came with the set. So I'm cut 2 of those and I'm applying them or adhering them to the side panels of the step up card. Oh, this is turning out so cute. And I'm using the actual reindeer that came with the set and to, I should say with the pattern paper pad. And I was just kind of seeing, well, which side do I want them on? Do I want it on the left? Do I want it on the right? And I went with the Christmas tree on the left, and I'm tucking it behind the house, just as you see. And then I went with the reindeer on the right side because he's kind of facing in towards the house on the right. So I thought that was the best spot for him. But I'm layering him more towards the front instead of tucking him back behind. And here you just have to be really careful where you're putting your glue, because obviously you don't want to put glue too far out on that reindeer so that it sticks to the plaid panel. So you've just got to be careful with that. And then just press that down really well. And I think this turned out so cute. Obviously, this is bigger than an A2 size card when it comes down to it. But I think I'm going to use it for just some decoration for my house. And I'm not going to give this one away because I really love it. And those big peppermint pieces that I had cut out previously from the larger peppermint pattern paper, I am putting them here in the corners of the roof just to hide some of the white that was showing. So here is my completed step-up card. For this next card, I wanted to create a card with a blended background to create kind of like a starry night with the reindeer. And I'm just taking a piece of masking paper and I cut it out with a small circle die, and I put it for the moon up there at the top left hand corner of the card base. The card base is cut to just slightly smaller than an A2 size base, and I'm using my Distress inks to create that background. I started really close to the moon with the tumbled glass Distress ink, and it is the Tim Holtz Distress ink. And then I come in with the chipped sapphire and I do some of the edges with the black soot. And just kind of going through and blending all of those together. The cardstock that I am using is the Bristol Smooth cardstock. And again, I just cut that down to a size that's slightly smaller than an A2 in size. And I just keep reapplying those layers just to give it more of a solid, darker, deeper look for that night sky. Notice that the lighter color, the tumbled glass, the lighter blue is closest to the moon, and then, the darker color comes, outside of that. I am taking some acrylic white paint, putting it on a block and adding some water to it, and I take a paintbrush and I just flick on the paint onto my background, which gives it a little snowy feel. And I love the way that this is looking. I also take my heat gun and just dry it so that it dries much quicker than having to wait for it to dry. Next, I took a piece of cardstock and I put some double-sided adhesive on the back side and just trimming down the excess. And I'm going to be making my own glitter paper. And I need to use the microfine clear glitter. And I'm going to peel up the adhesive backing and just sprinkle this microfine glitter onto that part, the sticky part where the adhesive was. And when you're making your own glitter paper, it has to be the microfine glitter. Don't use the chunky glitter because it won't look the same. But it's a very fine glitter particles, and then just rub it on until you've covered the entire sheet and wipe off the excess. I will be using a border die from the Stamps of Life to cut out the border, and when I cut it, it gives me 2 panels. And here I'm just placing where I want my hillside borders to go, and then adding some glue to the back and putting one layer a little bit higher up with the glue attached. That's going to be attached flat to that starry panel. The other panel that's going to go on top is actually going to have some dimension. So I'm going to use foam tape for the other panel. So here I'm just cutting off the excess paper, glitter paper that I don't need, so that it's even with the card layer. And then I'm just measuring out where I need my top panel to go. And I'm going to add some double-sided adhesive foam so that it gives some dimension, so that when I put my reindeer on here, I can kind of tuck him a little bit inside so it looks like he's in the snow. So I'm going to add that panel and then just cut off the excess paper that appears on the sides. And now I'm taking my tree stencil that came out with the Stamps of Life card kit from August, and I figured if I add some trees to the background, this would look really nice. And I should have done it before I added that foam panel, so that I'd have more room, but I didn't think of it till after the fact, so I'm just making do. I am taking some black soot distress ink. You probably can use any black ink, and I use some washi tape to cover up the trees that are next to the one that I'm using. So because I only wanted one or two trees, and continue just to reposition it at as many times as I need to create the effect I'm looking for. And then I just go over to the other side and I add another tree. So I'm placing the stencil there, adding some more ink just so I can do a single tree at a time. And then I'm going to lift that up and add one more tree to that side. So I end up with 4 trees, which I probably could have done more, but I think the 4 trees look really nice. And then I add my reindeer. I'm adding his little necklace with some glue, and then I'm going to tuck him right inside that layer. I am using a stamp from the Reindeer 2 stamp, and I stamped it with my VersaFine ink onto the top right and put some double-sided adhesive onto the reindeer and add him to the center of that panel. I think that looks absolutely beautiful. Adding some holly there to his antlers. And I'm going to be taking that entire layer and adding some foam to the back, and I am going to add that to an A2 size card base that was cut down with the powdered sugar cardstock from the kit. And adding that dimension, again, adding the foam, it just gives it a little bit of dimension. So there's my completed card. So here's all of my completed cards. I really enjoyed this kit and the stamp set, Reindeer to Stamp. The Reindeer to Stamp is currently available with the coordinating dies, and so is the card making kit as we speak if you join the card kit club before the 15th of October. Otherwise, it will not be available until a few months down the road, and that's only if there are any left. So go ahead and like my video. If you have any comments, leave them below. Let me know what your favorite card is, and subscribe to my channel for more card making inspiration. I am hoping to put out some more Stamps of Life tutorial videos using their card kits and their monthly stamp sets. So go ahead and subscribe, Lisa Mears Card Designs, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.